being an entrepreneur, what I really feel like the skill set is you just each day you move through each problem and you solve a new problem. It
Mhm.
really is just problem solving.
Yeah.
And if you solve enough problems in a row, you you make money.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to the show. I cannot wait to share today's interview with you. This is a friend of mine that I have known for a few years now, maybe not even quite that long. But when you have those soul sisters, the people who just think like you, or just, I don't even want to make it sound like that, like only think like you, but just kind of understand the world and see it through similar lens, you can have some incredible conversations. And we have had some awesome ones not on the podcast. And I've known for a long time that I needed to have Jorja here on the show because she is just a wealth of information and inspiration when it comes to being a mom and building a successful business, and really, I dare say, empire. Her business started from solving a very specific problem and has expanded and now blesses the lives of thousands of people in so many different capacities. So today, before we dive into that interview, I just want to preface it with, these are the kinds of conversations that I have been loving to have ever since day one of starting my podcast. There are just so many incredible stories and so many incredible people out there who are building dreams, building businesses. And I've always particularly been inspired by the ones who are able to do that while being a mother. And Jorja and I have some pretty frank and honest conversation about balancing both, about balancing motherhood while running a business. And there's some just really cool little tips and advice that Jorja throws out there that I've never heard before. After interviewing hundreds of mom entrepreneurs, the honesty that she shows up and the candor she has with the ways she's kind of processed and approached entrepreneurship as a mother, it was refreshing. It was such a unique approach and just something that really lifted my soul. And it was something I needed to hear as a mother who's still trying to do all of those things and wonders every single day if I am failing or screwing up for my family. It was just a breath of fresh air. So all of that, combined with the fact that she's just an all-around good human, is the recipe for an incredible episode. So I hope that you will get a pen and paper because you're going to want to take some notes. She gives some really good tactical advice and then also just some good inspiration. So sit back, don't get too relaxed. Get ready to feed your brain, feed your soul with this incredible conversation with my dear friend Jorja. Let's air the interview. Hi, Jorja. I'm so happy that you're here on my podcast.
Thanks, Kirsten. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. So you and I have been friends since we both lived in the same town, which I'm jealous you still get to live there. And for whatever reason, God wanted me to come back here to Utah, and we're still figuring that out. But I'm so glad that our paths crossed while they did, because you're one of those friends that we can sit there and chat about all things business. We can talk about spirituality, there's nothing off the table. And I love having friends like you because I think they're essential in remembering that we're not alone when we are doing big things, when we're doing scary things. There are other women who are doing what we've done. So I just want to give everybody a little insight into who you are and share your story so they can be as inspired by you as I am. So do you want to just give us a little rundown of maybe a little bit of background on like the evolution of the business that you're doing now, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. First of all, Kirsten, that's very kind. I too appreciate our friendship. I can't talk to all of my friends about business. I know sometimes like their eyes glaze over, and it's fair. Like they don't care about the same things I care about on my day to day when I'm thinking, strategically or growth or marketing or all those things. Like it's not all of my friends care about it. I say most of my friends don't care about that. So it is unique when you find someone else that is thinking about the same things you're thinking about day in and day out. I
Yeah.
mean, I still think about dinner, right? I still think about my grocery list. I have all those things, kids stuff. When a kid's sick, I have all the same things. But then on top of that, I have another layer of like where I'm all consumed or obsessed about some project that I'm working on. So it's always nice when I can talk to someone else that has that same obsession
Yeah.
or deep, dark thoughts about launching something that I'm like, oh, do I dare tell my husband what I'm thinking about? Because
Usually
he'll
no,
be
right?
scared. He'll be scared that, we have that joke in our house is like, oh, I have an idea. That's like the worst thing I can say to him is like, oh, I have an idea.
Yeah, for me, it's
Um,
so I've been thinking. It's always, even
yes.
my kids are just like, "Oh, this is going to
Yeah.
be a 4-hour conversation. Oh no, mom's been thinking again." Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I have a friend that I can talk about. Oh, I have this idea. What do you think about this idea?
I love it.
Uh,
Always
so
bring them to me. I love to hear them.
good. So my current business is what you would call return supply chain. Like that's the really big fancy word that I didn't even know what it meant when I was doing it. but we essentially take the entire return of a product from the time a customer purchases it and wants to return the item to the actual resell of the item. So that's
Mm.
called reverse supply chain or return supply chain. And a lot of people don't think about that process. It's not a real sexy, like, business to be in or anything, but I find it really fascinating and interesting. So the way it started is we were having me and my business partner had a friend that was in the bed in the box business. There was kind of this issue of getting items picked up when you bought a new mattresses. So, like, I would say it's been 7 or 8 years, maybe a decade, when those started to become popular, and we're talking about, like Casper mattress, Purple mattress, Nectar, when suddenly you could buy a mattress online. Previously, people never did that. They'd go in
Yeah.
the store, fill the mattress, get really high pressure cells, to buy something to walk out that door that day. Well, this new, I don't know, new technology, they're able to, compress mattresses, put them in a box, ship them to you through FedEx, UPS, DSL, whatever. And suddenly you could have $1,000 mattress that could change your life literally overnight. You could get a good night's rest because you're no longer sleeping on that hand me down
Mm-hmm.
20-year-old mattress that you got from your parents when you got married. And and so that started this whole new market. The issue was the only way that you could convince someone to buy that mattress is to give a really great return policy, right? Because you're spending 1,000, 2,000. Now there's mattresses that are 4, 5, $6,000 that you can purchase online. But you had to give them a really great return policy. The issue is they didn't really know how to get these items picked up because they couldn't ship them back. Once they came out of the box, you had this full size mattress. They didn't buy it from a store, so they couldn't like stick it in the back of their truck and drive it back to a store, and they couldn't fit it back in the box to ship it back online. So then they didn't know what to do. A lot of them said they wanted to donate to the charity. Like that was kind of the business prop. It's like, we'll just donate these used mattresses. And these used mattresses could literally have been slept on one night, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're like new products, really. The sustainability model on them wasn't great because the charities actually didn't want them. They had no real use for them and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to handle them. They couldn't really pick them up. It really wasn't the solution they were hoping for. And so for a while there, they were having junk companies pick them up just because that was the only
Wow.
option they had. And that's no one wants that for their story.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants
Yeah.
to be part of, adding to the landfill.
Right.
Um, but we had some experience in the secondhand market. We had built a secondhand marketplace. This was back in like 2012. Me and my business partner had worked on our background is both of us are in technology. We've been in part of a couple other startups. And we had built a secondhand marketplace where we were renting, buy, sell, trade, and renting on this platform. Very similar to Facebook Marketplace today.
Mm-hmm.
Very much the look and feel of that. So we knew secondhand market and we knew these like new products going in landfills, that there was a better solution, a more sustainable solution. And so we offered to help fix that problem.
Mm.
And I'm actually the first person that went and picked up the first mattress on this return
Wow.
journey. I lived in Las Vegas at the time, and me and my husband drove our like 20-year-old Tahoe to this customer's house. I had no idea if it would fit in the back of the Tahoe, but I knew that it came from a box, so maybe it was pretty pliable. And it was like 145 pounds, and we dragged it across this guy's driveway and shoved it in the back of our Tahoe. And I was able to clean it and resell it within a day. And I was like, hey, yeah, this might work.
So
And
were
so then
you were you partnering with like the brand of the mattress to be able to do that?
yes,
Okay, so the people
yeah,
would submit for a return. You kind of
yep,
reached out to the company and said, "I will go pick this up and
yep.
figure out." So did you have to pay any commission to the mattress company to be able to resell it? Like was there any kind of thing?
Uh, no, at this point, they were just super excited. They didn't have to pay, a third party to go dispose of it.
Got
They were
it.
excited. They were excited about that circular economy of like keeping it out of the landfill. No one really wants that.
Mhm.
So they were just excited that first of all, the customer was happy. They were able to return it and they were excited not to throw it away. And
Yeah.
so they And that's how we made our money, is on the resell, right?
Mm.
So there wasn't. Now we have over 100 partners we partner with. We pick up treadmills, pizza ovens, couches. We pick up all sorts of things.
Wow.
And depending on the partnership, we have like a bunch of different ways we work with them. So,
Wow.
but initially there was no payment going back to the partner. Now, depending on the partnership, there can be. It
Mm-hmm.
just kind of depends on a few things. It kind of depends on what the resale value of their item is. We try really hard to only work with premium brands, items that have really good resale. It doesn't do anyone any good also to pick up broken
Yeah.
or, damaged goods. There's other ways to recycle them.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually only pick up items that are like new.
Cool.
So,
And now it's
yeah.
expanded. You have 100 partners of companies of products, but you also have
Yes.
now how many people who
Yeah.
come in and
A
resell?
Yeah, we have about 1,400. We call them, our company's name is Sharetown. We have about 1,400 Sharetown representatives,
Wow.
independent contractors nationwide. And it was interesting because initially, when I was the first person to do that, and I had this experience, and then I was like, okay, how am I going to grow this? How am I going to get some stuff picked up? So basically, we called everybody we've ever talked to in our life, like friends, families, classmates, teammates, and told them, hey, I'm doing this really weird thing. Do you want to try it out? And I think that the only way it worked is that for the most part, people just trusted me. Like, I never asked them to do anything super weird before. I've never been like super salesy with them and never tried to sell them anything previously. And so I was like, just try it. And they tried it. And, when they started having their own stories of how they were able to pick up these items and resell them, then it kind of grew very organically because they were having success with it. And so we've been doing this for over 7 years.
Wow.
So it's kind of been a cool journey, seeing
Yeah.
how it's grown.
That's amazing. I mean, talk about expansion from I didn't know that you'd actually gone and picked up the very first product either.
Yeah.
Like I knew
Yeah.
you were the mastermind behind so much of this, but I didn't know that you started as the very thing that you now manage. So that's kind of your role at this point,
Yeah.
right? Like you do a lot. It's your
Yeah.
company. I know you have
Yeah.
partners and everything, but you really have your hand in managing all of those people and supporting them in doing this. And I mean, I think we've even talked where I'm like, maybe I need to be out there reselling some stuff, Georgia, because you've also
Yes, that's an
expanded.
opportunity.
Yeah, it
Yes,
is an
that's an
opportunity. I
opportunity.
mean, you never know who's listening, who's looking for a side
Yeah.
hustle. And I
Yeah.
see that being a really cool one if you're willing to go and do the work. I mean,
Yeah.
your people are obviously doing well for you to have grown that much and they're, making income. And right now in the economy we live in, those are really awesome opportunities that people may
Yeah.
not be as aware of. So that's awesome.
Yeah. It's been a great side hustle. We've actually, like, our most successful Sharetown reps are like husband and wife duos. The wife's online selling. There's a lot of women that are very good at selling
Hmm.
and know how to resell, and then they already hustle in the secondhand market. They can see the value in something. And they also know because they're selling to people similar to themselves, people that want high brand quality, but they don't want to pay full price.
Hmm.
Or they're on a budget. They're growing their family. Or whatever it is. Like, what I've been really impressed with is just kind of the female entrepreneurship that I've seen in who we've recruited through the
Yeah.
years. It's been very cool to see.
Yeah. That's amazing. So do they sell? I love to get all the little details. I love knowing how things work, which is
Sure.
part of the problem, right? I have a little bit of business ADD where I'm like, maybe I should do this as the side. Well, no, but really
We all
for
have that problem. We
I
all have
know.
that
I know
problem.
every shiny object syndrome. I used to have a
Yeah.
mentor who's like, you can't. He wanted me I was a photographer in addition to all the side hustles I was trying. And he was like, I need you to come document, but you might need to wear like earplugs because I know how you are. And I don't want you to get sidetracked thinking that now you're going to flip houses. It's fine. So yeah, but I want to get a little bit more details. Do they use your platform, like your Sharetown platform to sell, or are they reselling across all kinds of different platforms? Like if I wanted to be successful, where am I going to show up to have the most success?
Yeah. So we actually encourage them to sell through all secondhand platforms. So
Okay.
we help them with that. Like, we help train them
Mm-hmm.
and provide resources for them. But we do own our own platform, but we actually really promote all secondhand platforms. And we don't. One of the key things that that works well is we don't compete directly with the brand. So you can't go to sharetown.com and go in there and find a big list of all the products and buy them from us
Mm-hmm.
because we really want to, the brands we work with, we have a really good partnership with them. We really do support their new sales. If
Mm-hmm.
someone comes from us, we don't have warranties with our products. So if they're like questioning, oh, should I buy this from you? Used, we always encourage them, why don't you buy it new? Like, why don't
Mm-hmm.
you go try that out? If you're really, um, we really are brand ambassadors because we know the products we pick up and sell and we know what quality they are. So it's kind of fun to be able to partner with people that you
Mm-hmm.
believe in their products.
Yeah.
And you're fine if they buy brand new or if they buy from you. It's really about having a good partnership. We want our partners to trust us and to know that we're looking out for their best interests, really.
Wow.
So,
Okay, can we talk a little bit about the fact that that's grown? We obviously know you have 1,400 amazing resellers. For you now as a business owner, let's talk about you've built like a very successful company. Was that ever the aim? Because I know we've had conversations where this is your skill set. You can just like see a problem, and that's really what you did that I want to illustrate for people is business, really successful entrepreneurship isn't just based on only a desire to make money. It's kind of like the given. We don't build businesses to make money. That's what should happen if you're building a business that solves a problem, that meets a need. So was that always the vision to grow it? Because now at this point, I don't know if you don't have to share like a number, but it is a thriving company,
yeah.
right? I mean,
Yes, I'd like to say that I always knew it was going to be this big, but I don't know that I did. Like if you would have asked me back from day one, I
mhm,
knew we had something and every year my confidence grew in what
mhm,
we did have. But ultimately, being an entrepreneur, what I really feel like the skill set is you just each day you move through each problem and you solve a new problem. It
mhm,
really is just problem solving.
yeah,
And if you solve enough problems in a row, you you make money, right?
yep,
That is what it comes down to. And there was plenty of times along this path where I got to a problem that I didn't know if we could solve it,
mhm,
right? And then you're just like looking for some inspiration and looking for some guidance and some help. And so, but really, like I have children and some adult children, and we talk about entrepreneurship all the time. And that's really when I'm trying to like instill them. And it's like, it's entrepreneurship is problem solving. It's showing up every day, willing to solve the problem. And even when the problem seems so hard, like I don't know how to overcome this, that there is actually a solution.
mhm,
It might not be the solution you want,
yeah, or the easy
but
one,
there is, oh, yes, but there is always the solution. And it's just like showing up each day, willing to solve the problem. And that's actually what I really enjoy about what I do is just solving problems like
mhm,
that to me brings lots of joy. And when you solve it and you see a really good outcome, there's few things as rewarding as that,
yeah.
truthfully.
I think I'm probably the same, and so sometimes just for fun, I make up problems so that I can solve them. I don't know.
Well, our brain naturally looks for problems. We
Yeah,
know that, right? It's
yeah,
it's the survival, whatever the natural thing that's been put in our brains.
mhm,
I just like to use entrepreneurship to keep it busy
yeah. That's a good
because
perspective.
it seems productive to me,
Yeah,
like yeah, I think that's a natural state that we're going to find a problem
yeah,
regardless. And so I just like keep mine in the business realm
yeah.
because things at home seem to be going pretty well. And so I think if I all of a sudden changed my focus to home, I'd find a bunch of problems,
Oh,
a bunch of problems there.
trust me, you would. Yeah, I've gone through
Yeah.
seasons where it's like, okay, I got to go all in. We got to get homeschool. We got to get all these things just like dialed in.
Yeah.
And then I realize I have to pull back because I finally recognize this is something that will never completely be solved. Like there will always be new evolutions of problems that can be solved in the home. Like this is the long game. Raising kids is a long game. So I
Yeah.
agree. I think that's good perspective. Entrepreneurship is a good way to funnel that energy, that natural desire we have to solve problems and be productive humans so that we're not over obsessing about things that a lot of times we can't even control, right? Especially when it comes
Yeah.
to kids. So good
Yeah.
perspective. So you didn't necessarily know it would be this big, but now that it is, what is a day in the life like? I mean, was it always the plan to even be an entrepreneur while you were raising your family? You still have kids at home. What has the balancing act looked like? I mean, have you ever dealt with the mom guilt or has it always just been like, no, no, no big deal. I'm just an entrepreneur and I feel no
Yeah.
guilt about it.
Yeah, that's funny. I've yet to meet a mom without mom guilt. I don't think that exists, whether she's an entrepreneur or not.
True.
I just don't think it exists.
Yeah.
I always had this thing that I would say is that, so I've always worked from home since I've had children. Whatever, even if I wasn't working for myself, I always had a position where I could work remotely and work from home. But I always use this saying is like, I can either pay someone else to ignore my kids or I can ignore my kids myself. So
That's
I've
pretty
never had to
real.
put
That's a real
yeah,
answer, Georgia.
I've never had to put them in daycare or anything, which I feel really grateful, and I know that doesn't happen for everyone, and that does make it hard to work from home. I mean, I have had done plenty of phone calls where I'm, like, hiding in a closet trying to finish a call while I have a kid, crying for
Mhm.
me out 2 doors from me trying so that they can't hear me, so,
Yeah.
like, but I think the cool thing is I've never had to miss anything. I've
Mhm.
never missed any kids event ever. You know, now, now granted, I travel a little bit for work. So there has been occasion that I've, missed something here or there, but I think I think I actually talked to a friend recently who had a really successful business and they exited really successfully. And talked to their kids because I have a little bit of fear about how am I damaging my kids with running a big business? Like what
Mhm.
am I not seeing? And the kids are similar in age to my kids. And it was hilarious because the son was kind of like, I think the parents make a way bigger deal about this than it is. Like, you guys are way overthinking this.
Oh,
And that's,
interesting.
yeah. And I was like, oh, thank you so much for that. Because in my head, I'm all kind of like,
Mhm.
like, would it have been better just to like live in poverty and, you don't know.
But
You
we
second
do
guess
that.
everything.
We do think
Yeah.
those weird thoughts. Like, and I think
Yeah.
even I've been in seasons of high, seasons of low, and sometimes when you're even in the low season and I've been in that like previously, pretty recently, where you're just what it takes to build a successful business, and so you start to play tricks in your own mind where you think, but I'm gonna have to do this and this, and I'm gonna have to work these long hours, and it's gonna make me a terrible parent, and I'm gonna neglect my family, and I've like rewritten history in a way when the truth of the matter is when I've been very successful, made a lot of money in my business, nobody was neglected. Nobody has anything but good memories. And my son today was even saying, I miss being younger when we could have a babysitter. And I'm like, so we're all fine then. Like you actually
Yeah.
loved having nannies or babysitters. And we haven't even had to do that a lot. It's been like a couple
Yeah.
of blips here and there where they've had childcare, but I'm more like you where they're in watching Pocahontas right now while we do this call. And it's
Yeah.
just I love that permission though that you just gave me of like I can either pay someone else to ignore my kids or I can ignore them for free because I think we feel like we have to carry this that it's our job to keep them entertained and pay attention to them all the time. And my husband reminds me constantly, you're homeschooling, which is a huge endeavor. And so even if you school them all morning and you ignore them all afternoon, I mean, it sounds so harsh, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They're going to thrive and they're going to be okay. And they actually love it when I leave because we're together so much. So they're like, "Yay, mom's going out of town."
Yeah. Well, I also think they're all gonna need therapy anyway,
Right?
right?
And now I'm
No matter
just
what
earning the
I do.
money.
Yes. I figure, like, no matter if I'm the most attentive mother in the world or the worst mother, that it'll all come back to me,
Yeah,
blaming me for something,
it's
and
true.
that's okay. That's
Mhm.
okay.
It is okay.
I'll just own it. I'll own it right now. I truly believe I show up the best I can every day, and sometimes my best isn't that great,
Your best wouldn't even be that
truthfully.
great even if you didn't have a business, though. I think we tend to,
Yes.
like you said, muddle that to where we think that the
Yeah.
business ownership is what's tied to maybe failing on different days as a mom when I've had seasons where I don't work at all, and I still feel like a terrible mom at the end of
Absolutely.
some days because 'cause I've been scrolling my phone or I've been emotionally caught up in something else. So, they just need to, like,
Or
stop.
stress about money. Like,
Yeah.
I remember early on being married and having young kids and just being really stressed about money all the time.
Mhm.
And I was not working. I was trying to be a good mother, but I was constantly stressed about money. And I'm like, I don't know that I was showing up amazingly at that point because I just remember being overly tired and
Mhm.
really stressed.
Yeah.
And I have years that I can't remember. I don't have really too many memories about it because I was so tired and so stressed. Like,
Yeah. I
I'll look back
know.
at pictures and I'm like, I don't really remember that, that time.
I am with
But I think
you.
that's natural.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's natural.
it
So
is.
mom guilt, check. I think I have it. I embrace it. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I love it. Do they aspire to be entrepreneurs? Like, are you seeing that being passed down? Are they interested in that? Have they been at all like intrigued by your business model? Do they want to work for your business one
Yeah.
day?
Well, my 2 older children do work for my company.
Mm-hmm.
They're independent contractors. My son's in Hawaii doing it. My daughter was in Las Vegas doing it. She just moved out to Nashville 2 months ago.
Oh,
So
lucky.
she's here. And whether or not they decide to like continue to do it long term, I don't know. I really try to make them be okay making whatever decision they're happy with. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it for me, do it for yourself. But what I do know is I've taught them how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I'm really proud of them because they're 23 and 22 years old and they know how to sell to people. They know customer service. They know, like, to me, I'm like, I've given them a life skill that they can go out and get a job doing whatever
Yes.
and they can care for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
because they have some business skills. Now, whether they want to translate that into their own business someday, great. My son's actually graduating this December, and we've been talking about what's next for him. Like, what does he want to do? And he would love to start a business, but most of it's me coaching him through how hard it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that he needs to have a long-term perspective. Like, with Sharetown, I don't think we made any money for like the first 5 years. Like, we started in 2012, and I don't think it was until 2016, so maybe that was 4 years, that really we even made a dollar, right? Because we have developed this other platform, we were doing all this, and then we pivoted. And so not getting paid for 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
like, no one really tells that story on the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial journey, and so I'm trying to tell my son, I'm like, "If you wanna build a business, that sounds amazing. If I were you, I would get a part-time job so you can pay your bills and then spend all your other time growing and developing and trying to do that, but with expectations that it might take 5 years before you ever see any money,"
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I
Which
think
is
having really
really
long-term.
hard in today's
Oh,
like,
it's extremely hard for a 23-year-old to think
yeah.
5 years, right?
It's hard for
So,
somebody my age to think 5 years, and it's taken me years to recognize that slow and steady and like a little bit building upon each other is better than like one fell swoop and then like being on a really extreme roller coaster. It's fun and it feels exciting, but I would much rather have a little bit steadier of a ride. Maybe that's just getting older and being boring, but just today's
no.
society wanting instant results and fast gratification, that I think trips up a lot of people to never even scratch the surface of their success because they think if I haven't succeeded in the first year or two, I must be doing something wrong.
Well, that's the competitive edge. If
Hmm.
you can have long-term thinking and realize that you wanna grow something with real quality and real, like, persistence and real sustainable growth, that's the other people won't do that. That's how you beat out competition because other people can't sustain that. They can't think that far. So,
Mm,
I feel like when we can grasp that concept and it takes a little pressure off yourself when
hmm.
you're like, "Oh, I don't have to double next month what I did this month," when you're realize if I can just see a little increase and a little increase over time, that benefits you way more than the quick adrenaline, the quick,
Hmm.
shot of or the quick rush of like
Yeah.
success.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to teach my kids about. My son is in an entrepreneurship class here. They have a program at the high school here where they actually have to start a business. He's a sophomore, and then by their senior
Wow.
year, they do a whole big like launch of it. They're launching it all around the way, but they preach failure. They like preach teamwork and then also individuality. I really love it because
Wow.
I'm like, he'll graduate with having some real entrepreneurial experiences. And whether he chooses do that in the future or not, I'm trying to totally leave it up to him. Like, I get that. And this has been told to me before, like when you have success in a business, like a really big business, you can cast a really big shadow
Hmm.
around your family. You I just want to take away all those expectations that they have to replicate what I've done, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really want them to find out what's interesting to them and be very good at it and take pride in doing their best. But other than that, I hope they can feed themselves and their family. But other than that, they don't need to replicate what I've
Hmm.
done or try to, you know,
Yeah.
do something similar. Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask you, and I love that. I think that's an amazing thing to pass down because not only are you not trying to project your own expectations and what success, labeling it for yourself onto them, but you're also giving them space. And it's going to be so much more fun for you to watch them and more fun for them to evolve into that. That's what we should be doing more as parents. And yet so many of us are kind of like, oh, we have to control because I'm scared that you're going to fall when I love that it's being preached. Like failure is a good thing. It's not a negative thing. So that's
And
amazing.
I want to point out that I second guess my approach all the time. I'm like,
Oh,
sometimes
good.
like, should I be pushing them harder? Like, am I not doing enough? Like, am I way too relaxed? Like, sports is a good thing, like a good analogy for me. I played Division I basketball, and that was all my whole life. And I pushed myself really hard, and none of my kids seem to really care, like, care about sports in general. I mean, they do. They play it here and there, but it was nothing to the level that I played. And I'm always like, should I have forced it? Should I have made them do it? Like I second guess it all the time. Like,
Mm,
am I not pushing them hard enough? I'm like, so whether you do or you don't, you're just going to second
you're
guess
going to
it. And
wonder.
yeah. And I'm right now really comfortable with the decision that we've made as parents. We
Good.
literally are just like doing the best we can. And I'm like, well, it's going to have to be enough.
Yep. It's
So
going to work itself out one way or another. It'll be a really fun
yeah.
surprise on how it all shakes out in the
Yeah.
end, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question because, and I've heard this for years. I mean, a lot of the things that we kind of glamorize making a lot of money, having a successful business, that we think it has to be this just like really exciting, shiny, unique thing. And really at the end of the day, most businesses, most successful entrepreneurs, their business is really quite basic or quite boring. So have you ever kind of mentored, or what would be your advice to all these women right now? I mean, I even got reached out to today from somebody who's like they're trying to find their passion in their business. And I understand like being passionate about it, but have you felt like, oh my goodness, I'm so passionate about reselling furniture and I just feel so lit up by it? You know what I mean? Like, how would you coach someone on that if they're
Yeah.
not moving forward because they're waiting to have this strike of like inspiration or be so
Yeah.
passionate? It's their life mission.
Yeah. Well, this is what I always joke about. I didn't ever go to school or grow up thinking I was going to sell used mattresses. Like, that's just not a thing, right? And I can't tell you that I'm passionate about that per se. I think the passion comes from I love business.
Mm-hmm.
I love problem solving. I loved growing this. I love the connection. We've created this amazing network of people. So the people that work with me are people that look like you and me. They have 80% of them have college educations. So this is like a white collar gig economy
Mm-hmm.
where it's people that have full-time jobs, have degrees, that want to make some additional money on the side to pay hospital bills or go on vacation or pay their kids college. Like,
Mm.
um, so it's this very unique, interesting thing, really, in the end, but it's really about relationships. And I think that anyone can find passion in doing a job well done.
Mm.
Like, I don't think they need to find the thing. I think they could literally be tax accountant,
Mm-hmm.
which to me sounds
Awful.
extremely boring. And not to knock any, I actually respect that
Yes. Just for
extremely because
you.
it's not my strength,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm like, but they could be really good at it and
Mm-hmm.
really provide an amazing service and be passionate about it. They can find a passion in just doing a great job for people. And so
Mm-hmm.
that would be my advice to anyone is like, don't think you have to go. Like, I get that my job is super unique and actually that no one does what we do the way we do it. And so it's kind of this disruption of an industry. It's exciting to me. But like I said, we sell used mattresses, right? Like, it's not that sexy. It's not like I don't know, I'm not doing the coolest thing in the world, but it's interesting to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I think anyone can find that drive, especially if they just love business. It wouldn't matter what it is. So when I was a kid, I had a lawn mowing business when I was in high school, and I just liked making money, and I liked mowing the lawn.
It's that
Like, to
simple.
me, yeah, exactly. And today, if I had to start over, like if I was like, okay, I have to do something, like maybe I would do a lawn care business,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, do a really good job, show up on time, give really good customer service, go above and beyond. And I think I could be really passionate about it.
Mm. That's good to hear because I do think that holds a lot of people back who have a purpose, they have a calling, and I think it's amazing to feel connected to what you're doing and like to have a vision. But sometimes the business we're doing, even though yes, you can find so much connection and there's so many things you can find joy in doing it, even just the act and the art of having a business that gives you the freedom to live out a purpose, because your life is fun, right? Like you work hard, you play hard, you've created a ton of opportunity for yourself. You are able to pretty much come and go as you please. And that in and of itself can be the vision, that can be the dream. And you can be super passionate about traveling or, live music, things like that. I know you and your husband,
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
that passion, and you're obviously living in the best place ever for it. But
Yeah.
um
Yes.
so I think that's something important to consider too, that we lose sight of, is it can be the means to an end, and not to discredit that the means and the method have to be miserable to get you to the end. Like you can still find joy in what you're doing, but I think not everything that you're passionate about has to be the way that you make money, right? You can make
Yeah.
money so
No,
you can do
agreed.
what you're passionate about.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think you're right on there. Like it's always been really important to me to have freedom.
Mhm.
And like I said, I've always worked from home. That was always I could have made a lot more money a lot earlier on if I was willing to go into an office. And that wasn't the lifestyle
Mhm.
I ever wanted. I always wanted to work from home. And now because of my business, I get to live in really the coolest place. I live in Franklin, Tennessee. It really is the coolest place I can ever imagine. Like every day I'm like, I live in a painting. We do go to live music multiple times a week. We actually just hosted live music on our porch this weekend. They had a big
Saw
festival
that.
in our neighborhood. So fun. But I also think it's important to know, like, you never arrive. At no
Mhm.
point am I like, "Oh, I've made it. I'm good. I'm happy." Nothing like that just doesn't exist. Am I content with my life? Extremely. We do get to do really fun things, but at the same time, there is a constant, and maybe this is just only unique to entrepreneurs, but there is a constant need to feel like you're growing and progressing and taking on new challenges. And so I remember thinking, this is several years ago, I was like, if I ever make $100,000, I'll be happy. I'll have arrived and I can't imagine wanting anything else. And
How long ago was that? Because for me, several years ago, that was like $1 million, and I totally thought life would be made once I made 1 million, and then I did it, and I was
yes,
like, "Huh, that's interesting."
yes,
I'm
yes,
still wanting to grow more.
yeah. Isn't that funny? I
Mhm.
remember in my very first business very first job out of college, I got a $20,000 bonus. And I was, early 20s.
That's
And
a lot back then.
yeah, I never imagined having that much money. And then I remember sitting there thinking, I don't feel any different. I know I could
Hmm.
walk into a store right now and buy whatever I wanted. Like I didn't have very big wants,
Yeah.
but I was like, I could probably walk into any store in my little town and buy whatever I wanted. And it was an interesting realization to be like, okay, so that actually doesn't
So,
buy happiness.
yeah,
It doesn't
check.
really change anything.
Yeah.
So I think, it gives you some perspective. I always think, okay, I'm never actually going to arrive in this life. It's always going to be something next and to grow. And whether that's depressing for people to hear, I don't know. But for me, it just helps me know, like, okay, so this is what it is. The joy is actually in the doing.
Mhm.
And there was this great, I don't know if you had read this. They did this study at Harvard of young men ages 18 through 23, and it's the longest study of its kind ever done. It's been like 80 years that they've done
Wow.
it. And they tracked these men over years and years and years. And in the end, what they noticed brought the most happiness and longevity was relationships.
Hmm.
And it wasn't the amount of relationships, it was depth of relationship. Do you have someone you can call in the middle of the night if there's an emergency? Like
Hmm.
those types of relationships. And so when you're doing all of this, you're like, okay, at least something that my business has afforded me is opportunity to have lots of relationships, meaningful relationships. Doesn't mean that, bad things haven't happened or, you know,
Yeah.
or that we don't face hardships or anything like that. I think we think, oh, if I make this much money, then suddenly I don't have any problems. That's not really it's not how it works, unfortunately. So just a
Yeah.
warning to everyone, if you think you're going to go out there, start a business, make a bunch of money, that suddenly your life becomes easy. That's some things become easier and some things become harder.
Mhm. Yeah, and
So
I can attest to that too. And I think, just not to go off too much in a tangent, I think that's really important for people to understand that their why, their vision for what they want to feel and achieve has to be extremely present in that, and you have to not wait for a certain outcome to feel fulfilled. It's part of the
yeah.
journey, and I think it's just so funny how we sometimes have to learn that for ourselves. But I got to the end of the yellow brick road and I was like, huh, okay. Well, now what? And it's been hard for me to be remotivated because for so long it was, well, I just want to make money and I want to have money to do this and this and this. And then I lived every life adventure that I wanted up to that point. I'm like, well, I mean, I enjoyed all those experiences. It made life really fun. However, it's not enough to make me want to show up every single day because it's like you've checked all the to-do list items off and now I need a deeper push. So it becomes a little, for
Yeah.
me right now, it's more about impacting other people than it is about hitting a dollar amount. And I think that's just the evolution for a lot of people. Some people never get out of that. They just keep hungering and going after more money. But I think, yeah, I think you have to recognize that that's not ever going to fill you up so that you can have a deeper goal. You can start with a financial goal. I think it's fun to check that off. I love the game of making money. I really do think it's a game. But yeah.
I agree. I love those strategic games, and
Mm-hmm.
it is a game. And
Yeah.
it has cool rewards,
Yeah,
right? Money is a cool reward.
it is. I
So
agree.
but you're exactly right. Like, how you feel and how you show up, it's really like, in the end, no amount of money and no amount of like life experiences actually trumps just you being with your own emotions and your own feelings. Like, they don't fix any of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, you have to do it. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
So,
I know. It's
eh,
unfortunately. Okay, I want to share something with you. We in homeschool today we learned about John Smith, Captain John Smith from Pocahontas. That's why my kids are watching Pocahontas right now.
yeah.
And something you said made me think about this quote. I actually wrote it down today. I thought it was so funny and just interesting. John was not born for the lap of luxury and the primrose path of dalliance. So he could have had this cushy bougie life and he was not satisfied with it. And he went on to have the most like challenging, crazy life. He kind of came home from settling and being the first, I want to say reverend, it's not the right word, but he was one of the first leaders of Virginia, like the very first one, and had a lot of success. But then people got mad at him and he was sent back to England. And he was kind of like the end of his life was a lot like Columbus, just really sad ending to a very big life. But I think it's so inspiring to hear these things because he could have just lived a coasting, easy, breezy life, and he chose to do something important. He chose to show up. He actually kept walking into challenges. He'd get thrown over a boat and he'd just keep on going and he'd keep fighting. And I think that's something that if you're a true entrepreneur at your core, you understand that. You can read that and say, yeah, I'm not making money. I'm not doing all these things just to live a life of dalliance. And I'm not, meant to just sit on the lap of luxury. It's because we're feeling pulled and called to fulfill something bigger. I think that's really, you and I both have the same faith, religion wise, but I think even just bigger than religion, a faith in knowing that we have a purpose for being here and that there's a mission that we're meant to fulfill. And I love that entrepreneurship mirrors that or just kind of gives a vehicle to that because it's so innate. I think it's part of all of our souls to create something, to make a difference, to make an impact. And if you can find a way to do that and make an impact on other people, make money for your family, I think that's honestly like just the I don't know if there's three things in there, but that's the trifecta. It's an amazing thing. So
Yeah.
I thought you'd
Yeah,
appreciate that quote.
yes. Yeah, I love that so much. Like, I've often thought that actually, because there are hard days. I have
Hmm.
hard days. I question, like, is this worth it? Right? Like, because hard things happen.
Hmm.
And then you're like, if I had, what would have happened if I hadn't made this choice? What would have happened if I hadn't gone down this road? Where would we be at in our life? And the truth is, there's challenges and hardships regardless.
Hmm.
If we seek them out or if we don't, they're just different,
Yeah.
right? They're
Hmm.
just different.
You choose your
So,
heart.
but yeah. And the other thing that I think is interesting is I do think entrepreneurship is kind of innate. I just was born with it and I can't explain it.
Hmm.
And if you don't know, I don't know how to describe it,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, what is it? Like the hunter and the farmer, there's some people just innately are like, I got to go hunt and get this and like very motivated and ambitious. And other people that are just very happy with just taking care of things. And it's hard. It's funny because I look at a farmer, I'm like, that seems so boring. Like, but at the same time, I'm envious of it,
Hmm.
right? Like, I have really good friends that have been stay-at-home moms, and I get jealous of that sometimes. I look at the homes that they've curated and the food that they cook, the way that they love people and take care of people, and I'm like, oh, I would love that for myself. That would be great. And then and the inverse still tell me like, oh, I want to start something. I want to build something. And it's
Mm.
funny. I'm like, is the grass just always greener? Does
Yeah.
it just how it always seems? I
Probably.
don't know. Yeah.
Well, have you ever tried to conquer both? Like, I mean, this kind of goes back a little bit to the mom guilt, and this is speaking selfishly for myself. And I kind of actually want to tie this all in because I think who you're raised by, the examples that you have really dictates what you consider to be the norm. And for me, I have a
Mhm.
grandma who was very entrepreneurial. My mom was not entrepreneurial. She was very devoted to like swung to the other end of the pendulum, raising family. That was the most important thing to her, which is wonderful, right? It goes back to what you're saying, like one way or another, the kids are going to need some therapy. Like we did something wrong along the way. My mom was a wonderful mom, but I didn't have that like really close example of it. And so I've kind of had to pave this path, but I found myself trying to stand in two worlds where I'm trying to be the mother that my mom was, where I'm like able to cook things and I'm able to manage a clean household and just the amazing mother figure, but then also this really incredible entrepreneur. And I found it really hard to try and do that and to balance both worlds. Have you ever gone through that where you're trying to do both and you've just had to kind of like, or did you not even try?
Every no, every day. I still try it, right? It's like every day. So my mom worked my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and that was part of the reason that I said always want to work from home. Like
Mm-hmm.
she always worked out of the house. I never said I never wanted to work. I just knew I wanted to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and so my siblings helped raise me in a lot of ways, you know. My grandfather he's still alive. I was born in 1926. So how old does that make him? Yeah, 97, somewhere
Yeah.
in there.
Mm-hmm.
He still works. He's still
Wow.
alive. He's an incredible entrepreneur. He is a farmer, but an ambitious farmer. Also has currently runs a gravel pit, builds roads,
My
all
goodness.
sorts of stuff. And so I kind of always just assumed that's where I got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he just has this like drive within him. He was also an athlete, really loved sports and stuff. So, but I think my mom and dad were more conservative with it. And I actually think they really worried about me on this journey because taking risks
Mm-hmm.
and going after big dreams, like I think has been hard for them to see that a little bit because just there's lots of ups and downs.
Yeah.
So, but my husband is incredibly supportive. He is a retired school teacher. He spends a lot of time like he's a great father. He's really good with the kids. He'll even try to cook once a week, which makes the kids appreciate my cooking all that more.
Gonna say try to cook or
Yeah.
cooks.
Yeah. I actually really enjoy cooking, but it's the pressure
Mm-hmm.
of what to cook
Mm-hmm.
and then planning it and buying those groceries and doing all those things. My husband grocery shops and you know, it's been it's I still try. I still am
Mm-hmm.
there trying to be that mom that does those things. I get up with my kids in the morning when they go to school. I try to help them make their lunches to do mothering things.
Mm-hmm.
But then I give myself permission after a long day to be like, we're eating out. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot think of anything else. And so we're going to go get tacos down the street because can't make
Yeah.
anything for you guys. So,
Yeah. Plus, I know the taco place you're talking about, so I think that's probably almost always a good call.
yes. Yeah, it's true.
Oh, well, I could talk to you all day. I know that I could, and I have for hours before, but I want to, give some food for thought and some space for our listeners to, dive into what we've talked about. But thank you so much for coming and sharing your heart, your knowledge, your background, your story, all of the good things with my podcast audience. And I'm just so thankful for you. I'm thankful for your friendship. I'm thankful for your example. We need more women like you. And my encouragement from my side is like, we need more Jorja showing up and sharing this stuff with people. That's going to be
Yeah.
like the next season for you, right? We've talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, even with my company, I'm spending more time in the marketing part of it. That's actually my passion. That's my
Hmm.
background. I really enjoy marketing, being more, you know,
Yeah.
forward facing, you know, with the public. And last week I was in Las Vegas at a conference and I got to give a speech while I was there, which was something that's fun for me to do. It's
Yeah.
exciting to tell our story. And so, yes, I am starting to take that on.
Good.
I don't know what that looks like exactly yet. I'm kind of working those things out, but this is part of it, doing
Yeah.
podcasts and kind of putting myself out there.
Well,
So,
I'm so glad to be one of the places you're doing that because it's been fun to chat with you. And I know it'll be inspiring and just good. It's been good for me to hear some of the things you've said, being further ahead in the journey than I am. And just, I know it's going to be great for my audience. So, again, thank you so much. You're amazing. Where can everybody find you if they want to follow all things Jorja?
yeah. I am right now focusing on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm focusing on my business part. My LinkedIn is Jorja Leavitt. So JorjaLeavitt. I'm the only Jorja Leavitt that I know.
Cool.
So
That makes it
find
easy.
me, friend me, follow me, whatever.
Okay.
So
Cool. And I will link to that in our show notes and everything as well. But
thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for being on here. And to all of you guys listening, have a wonderful day and thanks for tuning in. Hey there, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something special. If you've been inspired by the conversation or the episode here and you feel a pull towards podcasting, I have just the thing for you. Podcasting isn't just about talking into a microphone, it's about amplifying your impact, reaching hearts, and truly connecting with your audience. And if you're wondering where to start, I've created a free podcast prep e-course designed to guide you through those first crucial steps. Dive deep into the power and potential of podcasting, and let's turn that spark of inspiration into action. Ready to amplify your impact? Head over to kirstentyrell.com/podcast prep and enroll today. Remember, your voice has power and it's time the world heard it.